In a world older than ours, there are finished and complete creatures, gifted with the extension of the sense we have lost or never attained, living by voices we shall never hear. Henry Beston. In the 18th century, news reached Europe about islands with breathtaking nature and beautiful people, and about their dances full of unbridled passion. News about natives practicing magical rituals, capable of listening to nature and using it by means unequaled on our planet.
A 20-hour flight from the heart of Europe to the other side of the globe set our clock back by 11 hours, thanks to the difference of 11 time zones. The archipelago of French Polynesia consists of 118 islands and atolls scattered over an area as large as Europe. The desire to learn about and record this paradise on Earth with photographic cameras was alluring to us.
We are headed for the Society Islands. The islands of Tahiti, Moorea with its legendary Cook's Bay, vanilla-flavored ta'a, sacred Raiatea, hospitable Maupiti, Huahine, as well as the island of Bora Bora, also called the Pearl of the Pacific. All these are waiting for us. Today, it is much easier to travel from island to island than it was for the first inhabitants who sailed here in canoes from faraway Southeast Asia some 200 years BC. They were excellent seafarers. They knew how to navigate using stars, reading sea currents, and the directions of the waves. The world admires their abilities to this day, and the locals are justifiably proud of the skills and traditions of their ancestors. What is life like in French Polynesia today, in the 21st century, after 200 years of Western cultural influences?
Every time I arrive at the sea, I first approach it, stroke the water, and ask its permission for me and my friends to enter and return safely. It is my own ritual. The surface of the sea is a gateway into another world. In the silence of the ocean's depth, I quickly forget all the insistent manifestations of civilization. Under the water, I am much calmer, although today I feel a little uneasy about how Petra will manage those close encounters with the schools of sharks waiting for us. This area is famous for them. For Petra, it will certainly be a new experience. And here they are, the first sharks. Well, rather babies of the white-tip sharks. They watch us with curiosity.
The colorful palette of the undersea world fascinates me. The fatigue from the long flight is gone. For me, the sea is like an enormous accumulator of energy. I realize that in the area of the Society Islands, there are few places left with such a well-preserved coral kingdom like here on Maupiti. And the main thing is, even in the center of the busy and multicolored sea life, incredible silence reigns.
The coral world used to be much richer. The coral, doa, represent life and growth, and had its power, te. It transferred this power to objects made of it. Sanctuaries called marae were made of large coral blocks. Marae used to witness ceremonies venerating many gods. Stones were attributed an extraordinary spiritual power called mana. By turning the heads of the stonefish towards the ocean, the guardians of the sanctuaries were asking the god of fishermen to assure a good catch. Legends say by that concentrating their minds, the forefathers were capable of influencing nature. Mare reminds of rectangular pedestals with no walls or roofs. The most sacred place is the altar, ahu. The buildings are constructed of lava rocks and coral slabs, hauled here laboriously, quite often from distant places. The coral seats were places from which representatives of the highest class observed the ceremonies.
On Malpiti, mare are densely sprinkled close to each other. Riding rickety bicycles, we barely cover a few meters before our guide Jeffrey stops at another remarkable sanctuary. There are many of them on all the islands around.
The majority of local inhabitants today are followers of the Christian faith. In spite of that, they are afraid, just as their ancestors were, to move any stones so as not to invite bad luck. Some of the stones have sacred animals engraved on them. Nobody knows exactly the age of these petroglyphs.
Jeffrey shows us human bones. He does not know, however, whether these are the remains of those who died naturally or whether they were victims of sacrificial rituals. Human sacrifices to the gods were by far not so exceptional.
Missionaries did not understand native rites. They were terrified by their influence, and so attempted to eradicate them. They did not even hesitate to use the sacred places as foundations for their churches. The missionaries abolished strict rules based on tapu, that is taboo. Unfortunately, even those important for maintenance of balance in the living environment. Depending on seasons, certain kinds of fish or plants were forbidden to eat. In individual regions, people could eat only certain meals.
Polynesians drew the spiritual power mana from both the dry land and the sea. Even then, they understood the close relationship between these two worlds and the need to protect them for the future.
Coral reefs are in a way cities. They offer apartments and enough to eat for a varied community of animals. The perfectly intertwined structure represents a biological laboratory, not only for the ocean, but for the whole planet. If one part is damaged, the others are affected too. One of the natural enemies of the life-giving coral is the starfish, the crown of thorns. In 1 year, this variety of a sea star can wipe out up to 10 square meters of live coral. It causes more damage than a hurricane.
I'm so thrilled I can hardly breathe. She emerged from the depth of the ocean like a phantom. I'm trying not to miss even a fraction of this wonderful encounter. Giant 5-meter wings of Atlantic manta almost touch Libo's camera.
From the sacred Mare Tapu Tapu Atea, the most able seafarers of the planet were setting out in their canoes. On each of the newly settled islands, they erected a sanctuary, using as the main foundation stone one from the same area. Raiatea thus played an important role in the whole process of settlement of the Polynesian Triangle.
The festive ceremony starts just as, like by magic, an enormous cloudburst stopped. Ambassadors from Tahiti, Hawaii, New Zealand, Easter and Cook Islands arrived to strengthen their ancient ties from the times when Tapu Tapu Atea was a spiritual center. The guard in front of the ceremonial circle won't let us any closer. We're probably the only tourists among the ambassadors and natives of the islands. I feel a strange humility.
The man conducting the Ava ceremony performs a cleansing ritual using seawater. The water is in fact the carrier of the sea mana. Delegates from the individual islands inside the circle embody the connection between the visible and the invisible sacred world. The ceremony is accompanied by drinking the ritual beverage kava. The presence of the ancestor spirits is to reinforce the unity of the participants and gods. One after the other, like in the times when Tapu Tapu Atea was a kind of university, the ambassadors share experiences from their home islands.
Things were not always so friendly. Even humans were sacrificed at the altar of Oro, the god of war. He was also the god of harmony and peace, in peacetime. His spiritual energy is said to still emanate from the highest stone. Even today, we can still feel it.
Legends are told also through dances, originating in the movements of nature. With the islanders, the family comes first. On Tahiti, even very young women bear children who are cared for by the family. Childlessness is unheard of. Affectionate human relationships attract many men, even from other corners of the world.
My father, my grandfather, myself, my cousin, and the owner of the boat. Here, I am Don Corleone and my fan club.
With his fan club.
Daughter number 1 is 30 years old. Son number 5 is 20. Daughter number 2 is 28.
Flowers serve not only as decoration and perfume behind one's ear, but also as herbal remedies. By the way, there isn't a pharmacy on Maupiti. Pulp made of the mangrove nut hotu, wrapped in a piece of cloth and applied to the back, can chase pain away.
This is tamanu seed.
This is tamanu. We press oil out of it for burns and sore skin after tattoos. It heals wounds and prevents infections.
We dry it under the sun.
There is always one member in a family who knows the secrets of nature and whom people see in case of illness. He then passes his know-how on to the next keeper of the family traditions and knowledge, usually to one of the children of his own children. In spite of modern times, grandparents teach their grandchildren old skills, such as weaving of baskets from palm leaves, or building of traditional roofs from soaked leaves of the pandanus. Even coconut fibers become beautiful decorations and jewels in the hands of women.
Some women prefer fishing. During the Heva festival, a contest is also held for the most successful fisherwoman.
The show of the catch takes place at the famous quarter-of-a-millennium-old marketplace in the capital of Tahiti, Papeete. Mahi-mahi is a favorite delicacy. However, harpooning it can at times be life-threatening. Men chase the fish from a boat when the strong winds blow. In big waves, the fish come close to the surface. This courageous hunt brings back the artful skills of ancient savages and can sometimes last for hours.
Rather than being surrounded by fish in the market, I feel much better with the live fish underwater. Although sometimes one must be very careful. 400 million years of evolution polished the abilities of sharks beyond human comprehension. They do not perceive their environment through 5 senses like we do, but with 8. They discover potential prey easily, and its chance of escape is negligible. We are not an item on their menu, but circumspection is necessary. The basic rule is never show fear and constantly keep facing them.
I guard each of my thoughts and concentrate on the gracious movements of the black-tip sharks. Any sign of nervousness could wake up their unnecessary curiosity. Even though the likelihood of an attack is minimal, it cannot be entirely excluded.
Three-and-a-half-meter-long lemon sharks circle around us and scan us inquisitively with their senses. They perceive changes in vibrations, waves, and pressure, thanks to the small channels on the sides of their trunks where the nerve endings are located. Another extraordinary organ of sharks is located in the vicinity of their nostrils and called Lorenzini's ampoules. With this, they can feel at the distance of several meters changes in the electromagnetic field. Every living being emits weak electromagnetic waves. Even a shrimp, cleaning a moray eel of unpleasant parasites and food leftovers.
The first close encounter surpassed all my expectations. They're so beautiful, I'm spellbound. I cannot take my eyes off them.
Flashes of our strobes also lured over curious gray reef sharks.
Next to our undersea biologist and guide, Julian, I can fully concentrate on taking pictures. Not only does he cover my back, but he also watches whether the predators show any sign of restlessness and want to taste me. A shark has taste buds over the whole of his body, and when he brushes past me, he is, in fact, tasting me.
Unfortunately, our air is getting low, so we have to slowly return to the boat.
Libor, of course, would rather stay. sharks, as if they sensed our hesitation, don't want to part with us either.
Whereas we discover the beauties of the undersea world in a state of weightlessness, moving on the surface of the island has its limitations and sometimes even hurts.
We set out to the interior of Bora Bora by the only road there is. Where is our driver, Terry? It's a strange feeling to see nobody driving. However, the passable road ends soon, so to reach the interior, we have to go on foot.
The next day, we follow the Moroccan archaeologist Asdin. We had no idea he cleared the trail with a machete only recently. He pushes us further and further.
This altar could not be completed before the arrival of the missionaries.
The altar is small because only one God.
Have a look at how wide it is. In comparison with Christian churches, which have an altar for only one God, they needed a space for each of many gods. This was his place during the ceremony. Here the mare ends. Don't forget, mare was never built with walls or roofs. These are the ruins of a house which belonged to the priest. And this is a chair for the king, where he was sitting during the ceremony. At that time, you would not have to carry a bottle with water. You see, the snake tree. Open your mouth.
I'm not very keen, but curiosity gets the better of me. It's good.
This is the fresh water.
It's a little Swedish. This wouldn't have occurred to me.
This is how they communicated. Echoes traveled throughout the whole island.
Almond.
Almond.
It's an almond.
Tahitian almond.
You have the nut.
It's a larger nut.
It's an almond. Tahitian almond. You can eat it. Look
Sweet, isn't it?
Look the leaf.
Do you see these leaves?
Like 3 fingers.
They have a shape of 3 fingers.
When you see the
It is a
vine,
passion
of the
flower.
finger, 3 fingers,
It has fragrant blossoms and sweet fruits. Blossoms can be used for preparation of shampoo.
Not with the leaf, with the flower. In November you have the flower. You make a shampoo.
Ilang ilang, on the other hand, protects the hair from the sun. It is then nice and shiny. Wild vanilla is a variety of orchid. Today it is cultivated and pollinated by hand. Because of this care, there is a saying, you marry her. It is the most demanding plant in the world.
This is the Polynesia.
Overripe coconut represents a traditional dessert. It is Swedish and smooth as cotton.
It's like a cotton.
You can gobble up 2 kilos of it a day and you won't put on weight.
Our archaeologists' greatest surprise, an enormous sacred banyan tree.
Look the
Here
root.
they laid the
When this
personal
one grows
artifacts
down,
and skulls of their
and when it
chiefs.
touches the ground,
Arai.
it will be like this.
New shoots gradually grew up through the skull and strengthened till they eventually
And after
swallowed
will
it
be
up
like this, and after it will
completely.
be like this, and after I close this place. Here in Polynesia we have the
Petroglyph depicts a map of the entire island. This is the main
Big
island.
mountain.
The big mountain, Otamanu.
This small mountain.
The smaller mountain, Bahia. Matira Beach,
Matira Point. This
and
is
its
where we
lookout.
maintain.
Lagoon,
deepest place
with its
of the
deepest spot and the only channel into the lagoon.
In the mountains, where the medicinal herbs grew almost under the noses of the inhabitants, nobody lives anymore. They all left long ago for the beaches. In place of the original huts, luxurious hotel complexes have been erected. Although the costs to build and run such places are growing, today's guests expect the same virgin nature and customs as existed hundreds of years ago.
Although life originated in the sea, we still know desperately little about it. In spite of our growing consumption of energy, the sea offers hidden reserves which could mitigate the harmful impact on the submarine wealth.
As, for example, the system of utilizing cold seawater for air conditioning, spa and regeneration of corals in the Intercontinental Hotel complex on the island of Bora Bora. As a natural source of cooling, cold seawater is pumped from a depth of 900 meters. In a heat exchanger, it cools down the warm water and saves up to 90% of energy. Thus, they implemented the vision of the actor Marlon Brando, who lived here and strived for the ecological use of energy sources. Cold water from the ocean is also utilized for spa treatments called thalassa.
Cold water enters the shallow lagoon via a channel dug out at the narrowest part of the reef, whereas before the high temperature of the water was detrimental to almost all life. Today, under the watchful eyes of biologists, there grows a coral garden directly under the spa. Every new centimeter of growth is carefully documented. It is not easy to bring life back where nature did not succeed.
Local waters are home to a marine miracle which came into being, paradoxically, as a defensive reaction. Tahitian black pearl, a unique jewel created by a pearl oyster as a protective coat around a grain of sand, is one of the attractions of these islands. This rare phenomenon has been mastered and propagated at pearl farms. A small grain is manually inserted into a pearl oyster with black edges. A pearl then grows inside, sometimes for several years. Pearls are sorted and priced according to the shade, shape, and luster.
They used to be called royal pearls since only members of the nobility could afford them. Today they are substantially more affordable, and some customers keep coming back for more. This is said to be the destiny of those who fall in love with their black beauty. Don't be misled by the name. The black pearl is not in fact only black, but its colors cover a whole palette of shades from black to gray, from silver to green. Some of these jewels grow under the careful supervision of growers over many years. An 18-year-old black pearl like this one is a treasure of the local market.
I always consider an encounter with a sea turtle to be great luck. Only a small number of them still remains. For navigation during their long voyages to the beaches where they were born, they have for millions of years been using the magnetic field of the Earth, transoceanic currents, differences in temperature, and perhaps even stars. In legends, they were considered messengers of gods, and only the great warriors were allowed to eat them. People believed that through eating them, they would acquire their abilities. After the taboo was lifted by the missionaries, this exclusivity ceased to exist, and unfortunately, the sea turtles became a delicacy for many.
Biologist Matthew from the organization Spirit of the Ocean cares for sick and injured turtles at the turtle clinic on the island of Moria. He tries to make the local children interested in their fate. They then continue to protect and care for the turtles.
This patient was attacked by her natural enemy, the tiger shark. In the open sea, she wouldn't stand a chance of survival. Sebastian from the Turtle Center has been nicknamed the Turtleman. Most of these turtles would not have been born at all were it not for his ingenious idea.
Once in the middle of the night, customs officers brought in the body of a confiscated turtle. Unfortunately, she was already dead. Since it was nesting season, it occurred to me to open her up and put her eggs here in the sand. Naturally, I wasn't sure whether this would work, but 2 months later, little baby turtles were born. We built a reef and grew plants on it so that the turtles could relax in them. Adult turtles graze on seagrass, and by doing so, they maintain the natural environment for other animals.
Within 5 years, Sebastian saved over 500 green turtles. He recognizes each of the current 30 by the designs on their heads and shells. They are as unique as fingerprints.
When her time comes, this turtle will set out into the open sea, and perhaps she will become one of 1,000 that will survive. She will have to face fishermen's drag nets in which hundreds of thousands of turtles perish each year, as well as plastic trash which turtles confuse with their food.
It is difficult for me as well as Libor to say goodbye to these angels we learned to love, especially when we know what demanding tests lie ahead of them.
The belief in the abilities of sacred animals is reflected in the art of tattoo. The symbols and other markings, banned for more than 160 years, decorate the skin of their owners again, decorate and also tell their life stories.
This is about my job in pearls, because I'm a producer in ocean, of course. My daughter and my last children, 3 boys. That means stronger, higher, in job, in my activity. And that means about different symbols of our culture, of our story.
Doing a tattoo, I proceed in steps because it's painful. The picture can be enlarged continually. But he can take it. He likes pain. The individual symbols are connected with your life, family, and history of the island.
This is nice. You don't have to speak the language, but you can still read it.
This is the place where
This is an old tattoo stone.
you make a tattoo. Okay?
And now have a look at how they did it. You take two wooden sticks, and you should imagine a shark's tooth here. It is dipped in ink made of special ash, tiaire, mixed with oil, and then it is hammered here. Tat, 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 tat.
This is the family.
This represents a family of healers, the sun. These pictures come from the Tuamotu Islands, and this is a symbol of the spiritual power mana.
Yeah, this is a spirit garden.
On my back, I have a picture rendition of the connection with the whole spiritual world,
Show me to come on.
both from the left side and from the right.
I haven't chosen any of these eternal symbols. They have a deeper meaning than it would appear, and so I'd rather stick to the traditional fashion decorations. I fell in love with the enchanting fragrance of the tiny blossom tiare Tahiti. It decorates not only the wraparound pareo, but it is also an important symbol. When worn behind the ear, according to whether it is the right or the left, it shows whether the wearer is spoken for or free.
There is also a dance underwater, and not only in July. That attracts me.
Some moments should never pass. The more I concentrate on the pictures in front of me, the more intensively I perceive them. In spite of being constantly on guard, I feel a strong bond with the ocean. Our guide Lino lures us to the depths of the sea to see his favorite places.
A moray eel. It looks like she knows Lino well. The only real wreck in Polynesia, the Norby. She sank at the island of Raiatea in the year 1900 after she unexpectedly hit a shoal. Some animals can be easily overlooked. The poisonous stonefish, dangerous to the touch. And here, the poisonous lionfish are hiding.
For the first time in my life, I am swimming through the bowels of a wreck. I am now close under a trapped pocket of air, which divers replenish with their air bubbles. It's a strange feeling.
I only wish that more people could learn how unjustified are the surviving myths about sharks. Their attacks on men are very rare. The locals respect sharks, and many of them consider a shark to be their guardian animal. Some people even considered them to be their reincarnated ancestors. They managed to live in harmony with this symbol of strength and protection. It is getting dark, and it is perceptible even under the water.
I'm looking forward to the spectacular dance show on land.
Heva means time and space for fun and joy. July is the month of the Heva celebrations, natural art forms of the natives, of which they were deprived for years by the missionaries. It was as absurd as when a king in a fairy tale forbids his subjects to laugh. Today, the islanders again tell the legend of their ancient relationship with the sea through their dance.
Even after 2 centuries of Western cultural influences, we find elements of mysticism bonded with joy and passion. The male and female dancers do not realize they're becoming part of our fulfilled dream.
The evening is far from ending. Our friend Lorik caught a deep-sea stonefish and invited us for dinner.
Even the tuna kebab and traditional salad of raw fish look delicious.
Perhaps we will all fit in, since only a part of Lorik's family is here.
We pray before each meal.
We do benediction before eating. Yeah? So, tini how we
Cheers translates as Manuya. Manuya.
Yes.
Food, wine, and the general mood are wonderful. I feel like I'm among longtime friends.
Yes, of course. And where are you going?
Some had danced until morning. While others are starting their usual day. We have yet to say goodbye to the ocean.
For the last time, I sink into the intoxicating state of weightlessness. Other perfect forms of life appear in front of me.
The most feared ocean predators swim around us in absolute calmness. Over millions of years, nature has provided them with perfect senses, but did not count on the appearance of an animal species which would target them for slaughter in many parts of the world. The slow and complicated reproduction of sharks is insufficient to prevent their gradual disappearance. Unfortunately, many other life forms will disappear with them as well. We visited islands that have become a synonym for paradise. The heritage of traditions and respect for nature are still present there. But most of the unexplored secrets on Earth are still hidden in the ocean. Evolution has not prepared dwellers of the sea world for their dry land enemies. Man absolutely irrationally destroys many things, not grasping what important bonds are being infringed upon. The invisible threads of mutual connections still remain concealed to us.